Born to Build podcast.
Welcome to Born to Build, conversations with the builders, founders, and pioneers driving change from the ground up, giving you the tools to build and grow your business. My name's Sam, and today I get to chat with Buhle Lindwa. Buhle is the CEO of Lindwa Communications, an award-winning digital marketing agency using strategy and storytelling to help brands grow with purpose. Welcome, Buhle. So great to chat with you today.
Hi, Sam. Thank you so much for the invite. It's good to be here.
So, Buhle, tell me, before Lindwa Communications, your background was in journalism. Paint a bit of a picture of what that looked like and how that shaped you to then later start Lindwa Communications.
Okay, so Lindwa Communications came alive like in 2019, and the previous job I had was in journalism because I studied journalism, and I was basically a reporter on current affairs, entertainment, and even politics, right, for South African publications. And I had spent so much time that as a journalist, I was still doing digital marketing for the very work that I had produced, right? So this really intrigued me because I was like, okay, I can do this for actual publications and actual stories. How about I also try to do this for businesses, right? To help them actively grant themselves that level of access to markets that big corporates tangibly have. So this essentially was how I then decided to turn my skill set of being a journalist and turn it into an actual business, which is the digital marketing agency, Lindwa Communications. And the passion really behind all of this was just that I wanted to make sure that people also understand that they can establish a business with just having a strong online presence, you know? So the same market size, or rather the same online access that big brands like, let's say, Coca-Cola would have, they too can do that if they're intentional with their online marketing and establishing themselves.
That's brilliant. So to take us back to the early days of Lindwa marketing communications. What was the spark to even start that? You were probably in a insecure job, stepping out as starting your own thing. What sparked that?
The need to see that other people can have access to markets, but also understanding that I can make it practical for them. Because you find that someone will be comfortable with using WhatsApp, but the minute you tell them you need an online presence, you need a website, you need to do this, you need to do that, they start shrinking and thinking that it's too far-fetched for them to do so. The entire passion behind that was just making sure that people understand that they have capacity to create access to markets, right? Because one of the biggest problems I've also seen with business is that people can have tick all the boxes and dot all the I's and the T's, but them actually believing that they can have an access to a bigger market or a bigger audience, even if it's just exporting at any level, it's like they start to flinch. You know, so the online space has literally democratized access to markets, and that's basically one of my driving factors.
Beautiful. And when Lindwa Communications launched, what was the biggest risk that you took initially? That obviously it must have been a bit of a leap of faith.
Yeah. It definitely was a leap of faith, but the biggest risk was throwing in all my money, all my time, as well as passion into it. Like I threw everything I had into it. And because I'm a very intentional person, it's like if I'm going to do something, let me be all in and just do it properly, you know, and go all out for it. So I would definitely say that the biggest risk was just taking off the training wheels of the bicycle and just throwing everything I am and everything I have to building the actual business.
And did you quite quickly gain some clients and get some work in, or did that initially take some time?
It took like up to a year. In fact, between 8 to 12 months to eventually start getting in some clients. Because the funny thing was, before I even officially launched the business, I had clients, right? So, so there's a situation of it was the undocumented, documented clients coming on board as actual clients. And then it took a few months to just formalize everything to be like, okay, guys, these are now the actual terms and conditions of, of everything else going on in between. So it was like getting them on board as a client, even though they were clients already, for them to also understand this is how the system is on this date. This is when invoices will be sent. This is days where meetings would be had for this, and all of the other, because they were just so used to dealing with me as a person who was just freelancing for them from time to
Right.
time. So formalizing everything took like up to 8 to 12 months.
Okay. But you were doing some freelance work and that provided a bit of that safety net, I guess, for yourself.
Correct, correct. Because I mean, once you get started with business, there are other things that costs that just pop out of nowhere, and you're just like, wait, what? I didn't plan for this. So, so what is this for now? So yeah, that basically gave a soft landing.
Yeah. Like for someone maybe thinking about starting a business, what were one of those surprises? Like, oh, I didn't know this was something I needed to spend on.
Something as simple as subscriptions, for example. Like you would think that some subscriptions would be pay as you go, but sometimes it's like even if you're not using a particular platform, by virtue of you having a particular subscription for X amount, you're gonna be linked to that. I don't want to name drop, but there was a specific subscription that I thought I could opt out.
Okay.
I thought I could opt out, and I wasn't able to opt out because I didn't read the terms and conditions that said that I'm signed in for 12 months, even if I opt out. So I had opt out.
Yeah.
When in my opting out, I was still paying, even though I wasn't using the platforms. So I was
Okay.
just like, what? And like it was a creative cloud situation where
Right.
it was a lot of things inside that particular subscription. So it was just like even the fact like subscriptions could reach up to 2K or something crazy like that. I was just like, okay, this isn't fun.
Wow. Hard lesson in reading the fine print is important.
Absolutely, absolutely. Lesson learned. Lesson learned. Yeah.
Now, your sister Nolita is a managing director and marketing analyst at Lindwa as well. First of all,
Yeah.
how did that develop? But also, what does it look like when siblings co-lead in a business?
Uh-huh. So a funny thing is, right, when even the name came about Lindwa Communications, both our surname is Lindwa. So we're just like, okay, LC for short, right? Call it LC. But co-leading with my sister, she's amazing. And honestly, she helps keep everything afloat, right? And the funny
Hmm.
thing is that we've always been in the same industry. And at some point we even worked in the same company. So
Okay.
we've even had similar interests, right? Like I've got a journalism background, she's got marketing background. We have
Hmm.
similar interests, and just building LC together, Lindwa Communications, it made so much sense. So our existing relationship also strengthened the business relationship, right? Because that
Hmm.
level of knowing someone your entire life and that level of trust, like, okay, she won't drop the ball. She knows I won't drop the ball. It will also put us in a position to fast track decisions, right?
Hmm.
And also just trusting the vision, because literally our name, both of our name is on the line. So if anything, it's like we're both fully invested in the particular business.
Hmm.
Some of the challenges that could come around with that is that because we're both fully invested, we don't necessarily know time out, even when we're not at work, right?
Right.
So a challenge could look like just detaching from work mode when we're home, because we can get so caught up with just doing everything that we're doing that we could even end up having a meeting in mom's kitchen on Christmas while everyone is waiting for food.
Yeah.
So a challenge would be just to detach and also remember that when we aren't in the office, or rather aren't working, then we can continue with our lives and not necessarily just be on business mode all the time. So just creating those particular avenues of our relationship and the branches of, okay, when we're at work, we're on go mode. When we're at home, it's just chill, take time out, and all of that type of stuff. But it definitely works for me. I don't know about other people working with their siblings, but it works for me knowing that we're both we both have fully invested into it, and we basically we trust each other per se.
Great. Yeah. And no,
Mhm.
no sibling rivalry going on in any way or
Not even really. If anything, it's like because she knows where my strengths are,
Mm,
immediately when she sees something that just gravitates to my strengths, she'll be like, "Why don't you take this on?" When I see something that like she would thrive into it, I would definitely even push her to thrive into that. So I think what helps us is the fact that we're both healthy, you know, healthy
mm,
individuals as well as healthy in terms of our relationship. So if anything, she's just rooting for me to win. I'm also just rooting for her to win. So the sibling rivalry doesn't really factor in this context because we're just
yeah.
healthy. We're just truly
Yeah.
healthy. So
I love
that
that.
was
Yeah, and I love that. I mean, and that goes for any type of relationships, right? If you are a healthy person, then your relationship, your working relationships, or anything else, is right. And so
yes.
taking care of yourself, I think, is key to that, obviously. But that's so cool. I
Uh-huh.
love how you frame that. Um, Tell us a little bit about, now obviously you can't name specific clients, but I'd love to hear maybe, without naming any names, with
Okay.
specifics. Have you got any client success story that you'd love to share? Yeah.
Okay, so maybe one that I might be at liberty to share is there was a particular client. In fact, they're still part of our what you call as client database currently, and we were able to increase their following on online platforms by 140%, right? As well as their engagement and interaction with their online community up to 83%. And it's
Brilliant.
metrics, it's just like numbers and all of this. But like what this means is that by the time they came to us, we were able to make sure that their following increased by 140%, right? And one of our slogans is you don't have to go viral to be seen. So sometimes a metric like just the number of followers doesn't really say much, right? Which then makes the other metric of the engagement interaction increasing to 83% even more valuable. The fact that not only did they grow their online platforms, but engagement also grew. So it's just like more people are coming across their particular business and they're more interested in participating and actually being part of their movement, even when they didn't fully understand what it is. And this client was so stubborn that they still don't want a website. We've convinced him so many times that transforming and translating all of this into a website would be more sustainable, long run, etc., etc. But they're just seeing the success on their online platforms in terms of social media. They're just like, no, we want to stay here. So you literally give a client what they want, but they
Yeah.
sometimes I like to just paint a picture for them and be like, so what happens if Meta decides to just close shop? Then what happens with the database? So things like that is you find yourself having to train the clients to understand how better to have longevity with their results. But then at times when someone is insisting on something and what's important to them, you just focus on what they value the most and just offer your services as best as you can to what they value.
Wow, brilliant. I mean, if Meta closed shop, I think the whole world would come to a standstill. People can't access their Instagram. I mean, that'd be disastrous. But,
Exactly. And I've seen how the world becomes in crisis when WhatsApp or Instagram just shuts down for 12 hours, you know? It
yeah.
becomes really crazy.
Yeah. But obviously that you mentioned the metrics and it's beautiful to see how you've been able to track that as well and creates a really great story for your clients as well. But how do you make sure you're not like it's not just vanity metrics, it's actually something that how do you know what to track and how do you know this is not just kind of vanity?
Great question. So what we are intentional with doing whenever we're onboarding a client is also just understanding their business landscape, right? So business A might not be the same as business B. So sometimes we go as far as like, what did you have in your business plan? what was the ideal vision? What was the ideal mission? And how were you planning and the actual traction from the beginning so that whatever we are doing for the online space and digital marketing is still in alignment with their actual vision. So you could find that
Yeah.
someone just wanted to be popular. That's it. So for them, a vanity metric would just make sense, you know? They don't care about anything else. You'll find that another person actually just wants to make sales online and they don't care about growing their presence, none of that. And that also becomes another level to be like, okay, because that is your only focus, then conversions are more of a value add for you versus all the pretty stuff and all of that type of stuff. So there's a deep dive into understanding what the client really wants and values the most so that you're not imposing what you think that the client should have versus what their ideal vision was, and just using your expertise to best support and guide them into actually living out what they had in their business plans and stuff like that. And you also find most of the time that people's plans, what they plan in the business plan, just it's never their business plan. They never see it as an evergreen document. It's something that
Right.
someone told them to do and they did. And now that it was done, they never opened it again. So we like to go back to the foundation and starting with the why. Why did you get started? What problem are you solving? Understanding all of that so that we frame all of the marketing based on what it is that got them started to begin with. Even if it means that they end up evolving and finding out that what they started with is no longer relevant, and we reframe and restructure their current mission so that their value proposition speaks to where they're at right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so important. Always coming back to your why. So key,
Mhm.
I think. And you kind of, you get lost in your day to day and just
Yes.
stepping back every now and again and just, why are we doing this? Yeah. So, so important. So you offer digital skills training in addition to your services. Why is that important to build this academy on? Yeah, what is your story there?
Well, there's a huge backstory. I could probably take 5 years telling you that backstory. But what, what happened was, in the context of all of this, is that we also saw that in as much as we were helping people to be seen online, some other people were coming to us asking us to fish for them, right? Just handling it all and going forward with it. And then some were
Right.
asking us to actually teach them how to fish. And then
Yeah.
this was very interesting because we then understood that capacity building needed to be somewhat integrated in our business offerings, you know? So that's where we started off with digital skills training. And this is where we're basically helping entrepreneurs, industry professional, business owner, brand builders to as well as helping them build capacity as actual individuals, but also building capacity within their business, right? This is how
Mhm.
LC Academy came about, because you find that a business owner might not be the one doing the actual marketing. So they might be sending someone who is in charge of marketing into the actual training, you know, but it's still
Mhm.
a B2B model, even if it's B2B to C, in order for the end user to get the actual training and all of that type of stuff. So an intrinsic part was that we wanted this to be a value add to our clients, and in hindsight it also sets us apart from a crowded digital marketing space, because anyone can wake up and just decide, okay, I have an agency now, but then there's only certain things that you really need to do, or rather be intentional about doing, that makes sure that you're truly adding value, and it's not just another digital marketing agency or another business just opening up and running shop online and all that type of stuff.
Right. And in
Yeah.
your view, what is the most underrated skill every business owner should have, especially in the digital age?
Tech skills. Definitely tech skills, because the spaces we're living in right now is okay. I like to put this out there, right? Especially when dealing with my clients, especially if someone's starting off a business, is that if you can't do everything the different departments your businesses your business has, you're going to be in a bit of a trouble, right? What I mean by that, if you've got 5 departments in your business, you don't have to be perfect in all of them, but at least know what each department should be doing and have some level of insight on how to do it yourself, so that even by the time you're outsourcing, you've already set the process, you've already set the quality measurement of that particular situation, so that
Mm.
whoever comes on board is not necessarily defining what, let's say, a web developer should do, but you know your requirements from a web development process, even though you're not necessarily a developer. But the fact that you know what a website should look like, functionality, what platforms you prefer, just doing your research on every department of your business and also measuring it up with global standards, right?
Mm.
So that it future proofs your business. But if anything happens and for a month or two, you end up looking for a graphic designer, at least have basics of graphic designing to still maintain what the business workflow currently is until you find someone to replace that particular person. The craziest thing could be is that you are stranded as a baker, right? You own a baking business and the one baker you trusted doesn't show up, and you've got an order for scones, 100,000 scones that needs to go out by Friday, and you can't even participate, even if you're outsourcing the particular job to someone. You just want to at least know you switch the stove on, you preheat the oven. You will need butter, milks. You just need to know something so that even by the time someone comes in to help you for that order, you would have helped the process by not being clueless.
Yeah, yeah, and obviously in the digital world, that's like understanding the technology. But what in the academy? What are the specific skills that you guys equip people with?
Okay, so we focus intentionally on our core services. So our core services is digital marketing, full scope, brand strategy and brand communications, digital marketing in the sense of content marketing. We also do web design, web development, as well as videography and photography. So our academy teaches on these particular skill sets. So we've got brand blueprint masterclasses, we've got videography masterclasses, as well as photography masterclasses here and there, focusing on phone photography, phone video photography, because you'll find that someone can even shoot an entire music video with a phone, right? So it's like,
Yeah,
why not use the very thing that someone has access to all the time to just help them do that for their business marketing and all of that type of stuff. We also have tech skills in general overall, as well as AI specialized digital marketing. So we have a full scope curriculum for our digital marketing, even online ads. We've even got a session on understanding the metrics, right? Because people talk about metrics and you see all of these numbers and dashboards and all that, but what do they mean? How can you quantify them? How does it make sense for you overall? So we do a full breakdown, and in our curriculum we probably have like 12 to 14 courses, because some is like part 1, part 2, and it's at different levels, basic, intermediate, and then master classes, especially for those who are professionals and just want to sharpen themselves.
right. And who does the actual teaching? Is that online courses, or do you guys, your own team, facilitate that?
Yes, our team facilitates that. That's the exciting part, is that we combined, myself, Nolita, as well as Lauren, we've got like a combined 33 years experience in digital marketing. So it's like we're using what we've used in the field, tried and tested, and we're
Yeah.
packaging it in so that it's like you can avoid the struggles we went through. And we just give you all the golden nuggets on a platter and like just run with it.
Yeah, amazing. Love it.
Mhm.
Now, you wrote about pestle analysis on your blog and the future of digital marketing in SA. So, you working with obviously a business in South Africa and beyond. What are some trends you're seeing right now in South Africa in digital marketing? Yeah, what should founders really lean into over the next few years? And maybe quickly
Mhm.
explain what pestle actually is. Not everyone might
Yes.
know.
So Pastel, it's basically a framework, right? It's political, economic, I think society, technology, legal, as well as environmental. So it's basically a framework looking at all those different sectors of society. And when you're starting a business or even doing marketing, understanding factors influencing that. So for example, if you happen to live in a city whereby environmentally you don't have access to clean water. So there's certain elements that your business marketing would need to either speak to that, or even your business offering would need to speak to that and solving that particular problem, right? So I don't want to bore you guys with a crash course on just a pestle analysis. We could probably do that in an LC masterclass, but the context with the pestle analysis is just looking at the future of digital marketing in South Africa. And currently we're just betting on digital transformation, right? And the reason for that is we've perceived that Africa's richest resource is its people, right? So having a strong focus on education, upskilling, reskilling, right? Make sure that current professionals, business owners, alongside the youth are prepared for actually building businesses, not just job hunting, right? Because that's another issue that we understood and saw is that in as much as we are in digital marketing, we also have to think of ways of how technology can be integrated within our business to literally just contribute to society overall, right? And if we look at the pandemic as a case study, right, it basically pushed digital adoption forward as well as just accelerating growth
Yeah.
and innovation across Africa, right?
Mm.
And you also find that now with Africa more than anything, not just South Africa, but Africa as a whole, you look at innovations like M-Pesa in Kenya, right?
Mm.
And like drone medical deliveries in Rwanda. It just shows you that Africa is setting trends for African problems with African
Mm.
solutions. You get what I mean? You
Yeah.
find tech hubs are booming in Nigeria with like $1 billion startup industry. And Cape Town is also just growing fast with infrastructure to kind of capture that momentum, right? You'll
Mm.
find that key industries like agriculture and finance are also leveraging the fourth industrial revolution, but they're also solving African challenges. But then what the whole world is moving towards is the fifth industrial revolution, and we're still trying to catch up with the fourth, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is that the challenges still remain, right? And the digital divide is keeping many people from actually accessing opportunities overall. You'll find that connectivity and infrastructure are still costly in some places, remote places in South Africa, and this will
Mm.
continuously perpetuate the digital divide, right? You'll find that young people rather, living in the Northwest or Eastern Cape are faced with unreliable internet connectivity, right? As well as scarce resources to just devices and data is just like extra costly. And
Mm.
these are creating barriers that are making it very impossible for people to even participate with online learning, job applications, and it's making digital literacy a luxury in 2025, right? In 2025.
Yeah.
So you'll find that a shortage of digital skills also means that there's a pipeline of talent that is not necessarily matching the pace of innovation. And then financing remaining thin as well as market access is not necessarily being leveraged by young entrepreneurs. There's a growing gap in the industry, and this is why we are saying that digital transformation is the only way that these elements will be resolved, right? So in essence, the way forward would be looking at strategic partnerships, local as well as global partnerships, right? As well
Mm.
as looking at bold policy as well as investment avenues to just unlock Africa's digital potential. Because you'll find that sometimes what we see in movies like Wakanda, could
Yeah.
become really, really practical. Imagine Africa as that digital city with tech hubs booming all over the place and everything just flowing and moving. So when it comes to reskilling, upskilling and just education overall, digital literacy is the only way that's going to combat the digital divide, but then there needs to be
Mm.
infrastructure to basically facilitate this. So in all of this, as Lindwa Communications, we just believe that digital transformation is not about technology alone. It's also about the people, the communities, as well as the opportunities that come with the online space. And since Africa's greatest resource is its people, right? We have to
Mm.
build that level of trust, collaboration, as well as skills, because we're not just going to catch up with the fourth industrial revolution, but we're shaping the fifth industrial revolution on what it looks like for Africa. Because again, we're not necessarily going to get, let's say, all of the resources that were stolen, right, in the past in this country. So it's like, if anything, if we could just build capacity within our youth, build capacity within the people on the ground, then it puts them
Yeah,
in a position that they can thrive and basically recreate the possibilities that were stolen for them before they even knew about it.
sure. Sure, Buhle. I see a TED talk coming up in your future. You just had you
Possibly.
just had your practice for your TED talk. Some amazing stuff. You mentioned you said you healthy, and obviously that's a big problem with business owners. Burnout is real. How do you personally and as a leader guard against that? And maybe can you even share a time when you personally maybe weren't as healthy and you did maybe hit a wall, and how you got
Mhm.
through that?
Um, Burnout is real, right? And personally, I've dealt with it more times than I would have loved to. And each time that particular situation happened, the only person that helped me get through it was Jesus Christ. And
Mm,
even in my antidote of being healthy, he's the only person that helps me become healthy, right? And I had to understand that the only way I can deal with hard times is actively calling on God, because the type of pressure and stress that comes with leadership, you just want a more sustainable solution. Smoking doesn't cut it, drinking doesn't cut it, deflecting, running away, and being evasive also doesn't necessarily work, right? So in what I've seen is that reading my Bible, number one, to reframe my mindset and understanding that if there are people who lost their lives just for their faith, what can a burnout do to me? Honestly.
mm,
Like, you practically detach yourself from the situation and weigh your options. And
mm,
another practical thing I started doing was being intentional about praying and fasting.
mm,
And this was very great for me because it put me in a position whereby I not only am detaching from myself, but I'm also listening to my spirit and also listening to my soul and also going back to my source. Right. And,
mm,
and this stabilized my Christian faith. And as it stabilized my Christian faith, it also put me in a perspective of understanding who I truly was before I have to even perform and do anything else in business, do anything else in the world out there. Just knowing that I am
mm,
safe, I'm secure, I've got stability. And that puts me in a position whereby when I have to then perform, when I have to do certain things, I can just show up because I'm not coming from my own power bank. I'm still plugged into God. And that puts me in a position whereby I don't have to feel depleted if I just extend everything I have and outpour to everything around me. So if anyone is going through a burnout right now, I basically just want to tell you that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And it also puts you in a position that if you've hit a wall, right, the worst has already
mm,
happened. Right now, you can just decide to just shift and turn around, even if it's like a 90 degrees turn, and find your source, find God. And that's the only way you're going to get fuel for the rest of your journey.
mm. Amazing. Yeah, I was actually that was reminded me of a quote from George Miller recently.
Mhm.
Um, and I can't remember the exact. Paraphrasing, it was something around finding true happiness comes from satisfying one's soul by feeding on God, through our daily time with Him.
Mm,
But just just I guess that finding your source of strength in God. Yeah, beautiful. Finally, For founders and builders listening, especially those in the South African context, but all over Africa, what's
Mhm.
one piece of advice you wish you'd been given 10 years ago?
Ah, interesting. I think it would be okay, so I don't know if you've noticed that in Africa, rightfully so, we've just been pressured with go to school, graduate, get a job, right? That's been everything that's just been preached to us, which is great, understanding our history. But at the same
Mm,
time, it's like I wish that same level of intentionality would have been pushed into starting a business even while we're still studying, you know?
mm,
Because what then that could have done is for now, for example, we see so many graduates that are unemployed and end up doing work or any type of job they can find, even if it's irrelevant to their field, just to make ends meet, you know? So
yeah.
imagine if that particular graduate would have been in a position to start a business and have systems that supported them to start a business while still studying and learning. By the time they're finishing their actual qualification, they already have a job and no one can pull the plug from their job because it's a job that they had created for themselves at the particular time, you know? So I really think that we need to just be more intentional with understanding that not everyone is going to be employed. The quicker we come to that understanding as a country,
Mm,
as a continent, the simpler it's going to be. There are people who are meant to be employees and to be employed and be in an actual business, but in most cases, it's not the case. You know, so what happens when you can't find a job? What happens when you genuinely can't make ends meet? Do you throw away all of your dreams because systems are not aligning with what needs to happen for your life? You know, in that same way, it's like if you're able to build a table, no one can take your seat away from that particular table. So I just feel like if a lot more emphasis was placed on building a business or finding other ways of employment. Granted, back then, 10 years ago, we didn't have access to technology like we do now, but just
mm,
having that mindset would have at least set us on point, because right now, not only are people not having jobs, you still have to prime their minds to understand that not everyone's going to be employable or employed, you know?
mm,
So it's like you're fighting with mindsets. Whereas if that could have been ingrained 10 years ago, by now they would have understood, okay, they have access, they have resources to access to so many resources online that they can find something to do one way or the other. So more than anything, I think whether you are an industry professional, a student, graduate, unemployed graduate, business owner, brand builder, if you do nothing else with your time on this earth, just build a visible online presence. With that online presence, you can do anything else you end up discovering or wanting to do, whether it's today, tomorrow, or even next year. So even in the conventional way of going to school, that's still very important because it plays a pivotal role, but then it won't be enough for this generation. Look at the cost of buying a home now versus the cost of having bought a home 10 years ago. 10 years ago, some of us didn't even have jobs to even be thinking of buying an actual home. So it's going to say that everything we're doing now is going against the grain of what we've experienced, of what we've understood. So it's going to mean
yeah.
that we have to do something that goes against what we have previously understood, even if it means that we sacrifice all of the free time that we have anyway into building the lives we want.
Sure. Yeah. So true. And I couldn't agree more. I think, there's so many challenges across our country, across our continent. And obviously, like jobs is a massive, massive problem. And that really is the heart of Born to Build as well, is to see, small businesses and medium businesses thrive, SMEs thrive across the continent to really
Mhm.
create jobs. And like I say, it takes the brave people to step out and do something about it and start and build a business that then can also not only employ yourself, but employ others too. So
Absolutely.
yeah, our continent, our country needs more and more people like you, Bushless. So I applaud you. Thank you for taking brave steps and building something amazing. And
Thank
just
you.
being a great role model for others as well. So Appreciate it and appreciate your time as well. Before I do a last few rapid fire questions, where do people find you online?
LindwaCommunications.com is our website. Our social media pages is at Lindwa Communications on Facebook and Instagram, as well as Facebook and Instagram predominantly. And then on Twitter, it's at Lindwa.com as well as YouTube. And then myself personally, it's just at Buhle Lindwa on Instagram and Facebook, as well as my website is buhlelindwa.com.
Awesome. Quick few rapid fire questions. You can choose either or: hire for skill or hire for culture.
Definitely for skill.
Early bird or night owl?
Night owl. Definitely night owl.
Cool. Your sister also a night owl?
She's more of an early bird now because she's a new mom. So her night owl days.
She's both. She's an early bird and a night owl.
Basically, she does both, and then during the day, she's like, I'm tired. How do I get through the rest of the day?
Wow.
She's
reading or writing?
Writing, because I'm also an author. So definitely writing.
Okay.
Definitely
Awesome.
writing. Yeah.
Sing everything you say or dance everywhere you go?
Whew. Dance everywhere I go because I can sing to make Jesus happy, but I don't know if everyone else around me would be happy. So I would have to just pull up my socks when it comes to dancing and learn extra moves so that I can dance my way everywhere.
Yeah. On that brilliant note, thank you so much, Buhle. It was so great chatting with you.
Amazing stuff, Sam. Thank you for having me.
If you've been enjoying Born to Build, please take a moment to rate the show on your favorite podcast app. Your support helps more people discover it and keeps the conversation growing.